The apartment building on 7th Street had seen better days. Its paint was chipped, the elevator was out of order more often than not, and the sounds of quarreling neighbors frequently punctuated the night. But for a recent graduate like me, the rent was cheap. The first few nights were uneventful. The only peculiarity was the strange sensation I would occasionally feel when trying to fall asleep, like a tingling under my skin. I dismissed it as static electricity, or even the result of stress from my new job. It wasn't until the 4th night that things began to change. I awoke suddenly in the dead of night, cold sweat dampening my forehead. My left hand felt oddly warm. Switching on the bedside lamp, I was horrified to find the back of it marked with scratches and abrasions. It was almost as if I had been branded with a symbol. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen. The tingling sensation grew more intense the longer that I stared at it. Confused and alarmed, I bolted out of bed and rushed to the bathroom to splash cold water on my face. Perhaps, I reasoned, I had inadvertently hurt myself, and my half-asleep brain had conjured the mark as some sort of dream. But the symbol remained. By morning, it had faded to a dull pink. I covered it with makeup and went to work, my mind racing with potential explanations. All day, I kept the mark hidden from my coworkers, pulling my sleeves over my hand or sitting on it. That night, I was woken up again, this time by a sharp pain on my back. I staggered to the bathroom and contorted my body to see the reflection. Another mark, more elaborate and intricate than the one on my hand, seared into my shoulder blade. I panicked, considering a trip to the emergency room. But what would I tell them? That symbols were spontaneously appearing on my skin? They'd think I was having some kind of breakdown. I decided to talk to Mrs. Bannister, the elderly woman who lived next door. Rumors said she had been in the building since it was constructed and knew everything about its past. When I showed her the mark on my hand, her face went pale. "You need to leave this place," she whispered, her voice trembling. She then began to recount a tale from her youth. The building had been constructed atop an ancient burial ground, as cliched as that might sound. The spirits of the buried were said to mark the living, staking their claim on the intruders who had disturbed their resting place. According to legend, once marked thrice, the victim would be pulled beneath the ground, joining the spirits in eternal unrest. I wanted to dismiss her story as the ramblings of an old woman, but the burning symbols on my skin told me otherwise. That night I packed a bag, planning to leave first thing in the morning. Sleep, however, eluded me. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd feel the prickle on my skin, as though dozens of ghostly fingers were tracing lines and symbols. Around 3 a.m., I felt a piercing sting on my ankle. Horrified, I threw the covers aside and saw the third mark, a coiling, intricate design, wrapping around my ankle like a chain. Panic bubbled up within me, gripping my chest tightly. I rushed to the front door, but as I tried to twist the doorknob, it wouldn't budge. Frantically pulling and yanking, it was as if some unseen force held it shut. From the hallway outside, I heard the soft murmuring of voices, growing louder and more restless. Then, something even more chilling happened. From beneath the floorboards, I heard soft whispers, growing clearer with every second. They weren't words I recognized, but the intent was unmistakable. They wanted me. Panicking, I bolted to the window, attempting to open it, but it too was immovable, as if glued shut. The temperature in the room plummeted, and my breath became visible, misting in the cold air. I heard the creak of a floorboard behind me. Whirling around, I saw the shadowy outline of figures, ephemeral and ancient. Their forms shifted and wavered, as though not fully in this realm. Desperation fueled my actions. Grabbing a chair, I smashed it against the window. Glass shards exploded everywhere, letting in the cold night air. Without hesitation, I climbed onto the windowsill and jumped out, landing on the grass below with a painful thud. Gasping for breath, I looked back up to my window. There they stood, the unearthly figures watching me, their sinister faces twisted in anger and longing. But they didn't follow. It seemed they were bound to the building. Hobbling on my injured ankle, I made my way to the street and flagged down a passing car. The driver, seeing my panicked state, called 911. At the hospital, I spun a tale of a break-in, not daring to share the real story. I never went back to the apartment on 7th Street. A friend collected my belongings for me. Years have passed, but the marks, though faded, still remain on my skin, a permanent reminder of that horrifying experience. Every so often, when the night is still and the air is cold, I feel the familiar tingling sensation on my skin and the softest hint of whispered voices. And I am reminded once again of the ancient spirits beneath the floorboards of that old building on 7th Street, and the claim I fear they may still have on me. Thanks for tuning in to another episode from the Alley of Nightmares. If you enjoyed the video, please like it, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Until next time.